So, main function of blood is to transport the food or waste from the blood to the periphery, to transport the oxygen, carbon dioxide, to provide the hormone supply from the target end to the supply end. So, different nutrients, calciums, minerals and other parts, and it will also provide you resistance for invading bacteria. So, these are different functions of blood. So, this cardiovascular system is again intrinsically or extrinsically maintained by the strict control of autonomic nervous system. The nervous system here is divided into two categories. One is voluntary nervous system, other one is involuntary nervous system. In the involuntary nervous system, we have again two: sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So, each organ of our body is innervated or supplied by one set of sympathetic nervous system for stimulation and another set of parasympathetic nervous system to regulation. So, each of this sympathetic overactivity or parasympathetic overactivity will be in such a balance that the regulation will happen automatically, and it will be under control of higher centers like thalamus and hypothalamus and pituitary. So, there is an intrinsic mechanism of control and there is an extrinsic mechanism of control because of the nerve supply to the heart and the brain, and there is also chemical based or the pressure based regulation. We call it as baroreceptors and chemoreceptors. The baroreceptors are the one which will sense the pressure and then signal to the brain to regulate the hormone or to regulate the blood pressure, heart rate, blood volume, and there is a chemoreceptors sensing the chemical change in the blood, and it will signal to the brain in such a way that the balance would happen much better. So, these are chemoreceptors and baroreceptors in the body which will help you to manage your blood pressure. When the heart is beating, the wave like movement will pass from the heart to the different blood vessels, we call it as arteries. The wave like movement we feel it at the end, towards the end of the major arteries against the walls of some bones. Here we feel as a digital pulse, we feel as a radial pulse on the surface of a head of the radius. So, this is called as pulse. We measure, that is a wave like movement coming from the heart to the arteries is called as pulse, that can be measured by sphygmomanometer, BP apparatus, or also by manually checking the pulse. So, that is a wave like movement what we feel to our fingers is called as pulse. Usually doctors will check the pulse of the radial artery or the carotid artery. If somebody is dying or near death, they will check the carotid artery, then the radial artery or other arteries, brachial artery or other arteries they will check. So, there are different areas of your body where we can check the pulse, and in the detailed version of anatomy and physiology level 2, you will be studying about how to check the blood pressure, how to check the pulse, and how to evaluate somebody's pulse, is it high volume, low volume, medium volume, and all those details. At this level, I think the basic introductory level is enough. In relation to yoga, body postures can change the volume of blood and intrinsic or extrinsic mechanisms. For example, if you are doing downward dog pose, there is more of congestion of blood vessels around the neck. We call it as engorgement of veins around the neck. That can signal indirectly to the chemoreceptors or baroreceptors in such a way that your blood pressure can be monitored or regulated automatically. So, there is very much possibility is there that if the regular practice of yoga is done, it can motivate, stimulate the baroreceptors and chemoreceptors in such a way that we can control around 20 to 40 millimeter of mercury of systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure we can control by regular practice of yoga. So, first ever research done in the field of yoga is in the Shavasana and blood pressure studies, where it has shown that lying down in Shavasana in an extended time has shown to reduce the both systolic and diastolic blood pressure by 10 millimeter of mercury plus. So, with this evidence of connecting the disease, yoga and the anatomy physiology, I want to make it a point that all the yoga teachers must and should know about yoga and also the depth of anatomy and physiology and the wisdom to connect both of them. So, see you in the next class. Thank you.